Welcome to The Real Study with your hosts, MrSniDBitS.
I was pleasantly surprised. It was funny. It was fun. It kept the spirit alive.
BlackGirlMarvel.
I cried laughing. That was hilarious.
Tylermakesfilms.
It's meant for us to kind of contemplate.
Allthemoviethings.
Why I enjoyed it more too was the fact that we were going to talk about it from this perspective.
Lieutenant Commander Ray.
And this absolutely qualifies on that list.
And me, the Real Study movie voice guy.
I probably would have been in love with this movie as well.
Let's go to the poster wall.
Good evening and welcome to The Real Study. My name is MrSniDBitS, and with me tonight, as always, is BlackGirlMarvel and all the movie things. There will be no Lieutenant Commander Ray tonight. She had to be away, and we wish her having a great evening, and she should be back next week. Speaking of next week, we already have our movies picked out, so we will talk about those later. But for today, we will be discussing Penny Marshall's classic A League of Their Own, and then, of course, the classic novel adapted to a film, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Those will be the two movies we talk about tonight. That said, as always, we move over and we talk about any movies you guys saw in the last week. Anything in the theater? Anything at home?
Yeah.
What'd you see?
Saw a couple. Saw Love Lies Bleeding with Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien and Ed Harris.
Nice.
Yeah, it was pretty phenomenal, I think. Yeah, really, some of it was like, I was not expecting certain things, and like there's like elements of like these like fantastical elements. It's like a love story. It's like this revenge story. It has like a little bit of body horror in there.
Really?
Even like suddenly, yeah, there's like body horror element. I was like, what is happening right now? But it's all like within someone's like psyche, basically.
Where you can do anything.
Like,
so that's
really,
great,
yeah, exactly. So it was like, yeah, she was kind of out of it, but yeah, it was pretty great. It's definitely one to see. Another great A24 film, so
they keep checking those boxes, man. They do a good job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've heard people who have gotten to see a screening of Civil War are like, it's mind-blowing and life-changing, I've heard, which is a bit of a thing, but, considering the subject matter in the world, I could see that. So
yeah. Well, the thing I've heard, too, is like that a lot of people are kind of expecting it to take some kind of like political stance.
Doesn't have to.
I'm hearing, yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, like it's not really doing that. It's just throwing you in the crazy world, and
I don't need to know how it happened. Like in the zombie apocalypse, I don't care what scientists blew the lid on the virus. That does not matter to me. Do you have a cure? That's the only question. And if not,
like
it's time for survival.
Where are these characters going? Yeah, what are we doing with these characters? In this particular instance. But I also saw One Life with Anthony Hopkins, which is like not a lot of people have heard of. I don't feel like there's a lot of like marketing around it, but
I haven't heard of it.
Essentially about this gentleman based on true events. This gentleman who saved about 660 something children from during World War II, like these events of like they're refugees in like the Czech Republic, I believe, and got them out. He got about 660 of them out and with families. And this was all like right before the Nazis invaded Poland and everything. But this stuff was like coming down, So, and some people have seen the like live footage from this TV show on the BBC called That's Life, where they brought this gentleman on. And the whole audience was filled with adults, the adult children, basically, of those that he saved. And it's like really,
oh wow,
I have seen
like
that
harrowing thing. Yeah,
that I've seen.
That's what. So yeah, so this is a film.
I feel like that'll make me cry.
That guy, yeah. There's a lot. It's tough. It's a little slow. It was
But it's another instance of a Schindler's List kind of thing where he was just trying to take the people he could and save them the way he could.
Right. Yeah, and it kind of goes back and forth between time, so we see like the past, because it's set during the 80s and leads up to like the events of like the TV show, when he's
interesting.
When all those people are revealed to him. Yeah. So
I think that is going to be something we see more of because we watched Little Women, and they of course include the Alcott story in Little Women, which is a very unique take. And I think we're just going to see more of that because our generation loves the extra. We want to know the more.
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
How about you, La? You see anything this last week besides the two movies?
Only thing I saw. Yeah. Only thing I saw was Netflix has a documentary called Our Planet 2.
Okay. Yeah. So Our Planet,
it's
but narrated. The sequel.
Then you're right, the sequel to Our Planet, and it's directed. It's narrated by Sir David Attenborough, so it's legit. No, it was amazing. Only seen like the first. He is when it comes to like those.
Like, just straight up.
He very much so is, and I watched like the first 2 episodes, and I forget how much I like those. Like I step away from those a lot, and then as a person who likes nature and animals and learning, I've always been like that since I was a kid. When I step back into that world, I'm like, why did I leave?
Oh yeah, no,
like,
I'm
always like, why? But then I always realize it makes me a little bit sad because we're destroying the planet, and they let us know that we're destroying the planet.
Oh
yeah. They don't pull punches on those docs anymore. They just
don't.
Like,
and
here's the beautiful animals, and now look at what we're doing to them.
What we're doing.
And this is why they're dying. Like. But it's also just I think one of the interesting things was like there's a part in like I believe it's in Africa like where it's like a seed that's like dry and it'll stay dry, but once every like I think 10 years or something like that, a big storm happens and fills this sea up, and like flamingos and stuff come, and this is where they have their babies and stuff like that. And because it's like a very salty sea,
I saw this one
there, right, you saw this. Okay, no animal comes there and their babies can like just be born, but because it's salt deposits, some babies are born with like salt like just around their legs, and it's hard for them to walk and stuff like that. And it honestly looked like gave me Forrest Gump feels like braces, type of things. And I was just it made me
coated in salt kind of thing.
Coated in salt, like it was like braces on like the flamingos like legs. It was like hard for them to walk because like the salt just like ionized like to their skin, because they're like that's where their eggs are, like in the salt deposits and stuff. And it just made me think about like humanity and like how like all animals, because technically we are animals, humans are animals, how all animals have some like, even though some type of born defect in a way, and I hate to use the word defect, but I'm just going to say defect. No disrespect to anybody, but it's just I was just thinking about that. Like we all have our things. Like we all have like when lions have babies and their babies are sick, like they just kill off their babies.
Right. You could just call it evolutionary, and it covers everything. Right. You don't have to worry about it.
And they just and I find that just very interesting that like we're all animals and we all have things. Like even animals work, right? They might not work in the sense how we work, but they have a job. Like they have people who like
survival
together. Yeah. They have like things like that. And I just found it very interesting just watching that. It just gave me a new perspective on like, I know this sounds really crazy. Like I watched a documentary and gained a new perspective, but I feel like everybody does when they like watch stuff. But I was just like thinking about my life, and I was like,
documentary. Really.
That's the point of a documentary. I mean, that's the point of a lot of film. Like,
right.
And I just thought, I just found it interesting that like we all have like a work base and a way that we have to survive. And it's just that I felt like animals have it way more figured out than people. People are just like immediate savages. Right. Like there's a reason why animals like hunt other animals and kill other animals, because like that's just what it is in that land. And like we don't have to do that, but we still do that. And it's just like my mind was just reeling the whole time I was like watching these episodes. I was just like, what are we doing? Like what is going on? But honestly, the shots are beautiful. The documentary is like
every time they get better, right? Every time,
they're like they just leap.
Insane.
They just leap every time, and I find it. I just want to say shout out to like everybody who who helped create this documentary, because I know it takes a long time. Like
Well,
a
patience
long
beyond
time.
patience
For weeks to
for
get a
those
shot.
shots.
Man,
It's not
to
like
get
people
the
where you can
shot,
go,
to
okay,
get the
go over
angle.
here and stand in
No,
front of
for
this,
sure.
you know.
Yeah.
And then have to get all of that footage together for somebody to edit it down to make it so that Sir David can put his voiceover on it like in a way that works well. Like it's so many moving parts to these things.
Oh, can I
it's very
ruin them a little
interesting.
bit for you? Not in a bad way, but you know, we're movie people.
No, sure. Yeah.
So it, you know, and this is like an obvious thing, but you don't think about it. But all the audio is just audio over. They're not capturing that audio the way you're seeing it. What you're seeing is they can do from a distance, but they really can't do that with audio the way they can with cameras. So like a lot of it's folio or Foley. And it's just, it has to be that way.
I am okay with that because I'd rather you give me the images and don't die while you do it. Because
or disturb what you're trying to record, right? If you get too close with something.
But also, like, yeah, you can put yourself in an ecosystem and like mess it up. And these ecosystems are already like sensitive, so you don't want to like add to it and make it even worse. And then now you're responsible for the decimation of a whole like ecosystem. So
you just killed the meerkats.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Man. Like, what are you doing?
No, for sure. Like it's. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was like, I gotta go watch them other episodes. I was like, this is.
They made a Planet Earth 3, as far as I know, and that's on Disney Plus right now, so you can check that out.
Nice.
Oh no, there was one I just saw. They did Females of the Animal Kingdom, where it's just like all the ladies and how they dominate. So
that's what we should watch for Women's Month.
I just don't know how to. I mean, we could talk about shots, I guess, but. How do we talk about plot? Yeah. If it was the Meerkat show, they had plot. Like there was like animal.
I mean, we talk about shots. We talk about cinematography. And then we just talk about. And then we talk about the animals in general. Like, what did you guys think about when you saw this? Talk about that. I'm just joking though, but I just thought that was because it's all women, so I just thought it was funny.
I still think it'd be great. I mean, we could watch it and say, yeah, I liked it or didn't like it or that lioness. Oh my, that's ridiculous.
Oh my.
So I have spent no. So we're still, me and my wife are still doing this trade where if I take down enough now, it's not just Grays now. She's kind of like, here are some options. And so I've taken down almost 3 seasons of Vanderpump Rules.
Oh my God, really?
I don't know how or why, but I've kind of gotten addicted to it. Don't tell anybody.
That's the but that's the point of these type of shows. Is
like, hooked, a character hadn't come back in the first 20 minutes of the 3rd season, and I was like, where is she? And I was kind of getting all like frustrated, and then my wife was like, oh, she doesn't come back for a while. Next shot, she pulls up because she's messing with me. So that's what my wife likes to do. So that's what I've done. I've been banking. Oh no, but here, instead of that, I actually had my wife watch Heat for the first time.
Oh my!
Oh, nice.
So that was good, and she was like, "Why did I put this off? Why did I put this on the back burner?"
Yeah, I love that.
She ended up. She said it was really good. She, I think she would have liked it more had she seen it closer to the '95 release.
Right.
But I was like, but you could see why Michael Mann has the career he has. Not that he didn't do anything before this, but this set his career where it went.
I don't think I've seen Heat. I think Heat is one of those I haven't seen either.
Yeah. And it's not like Pacino and De Niro never acted together before.
Was heavy animation for me. Like that was heavy animation seasons. So like I wasn't looking for like real stuff.
Well, and I think the unique thing about Michael Mann's movies is that he understands that his characters are human at their core. And that they are going to even make human mistakes, even when you're sitting there going, I know you're a bad guy and I should be rooting against you, but I want you to win. But when you don't, I understand, like it. Oh yeah, no, totally. It dawns on you. You're like, okay, this is the way it should be, but I'm still pissed because I wanted, good things to happen for bad. I don't know. He can make you care about characters you shouldn't care about, which is pretty interesting.
Well, I mean, and because like Vincent Hanna is such a flawed character too. Right. You know what I mean? Like he's like, the cop and the hero or whatnot, but he's like, he's not perfect either. I mean, and that's why they're like two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, no, they literally, had they grown up in different neighborhoods, they would have taken each other's jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
literally. Like,
right.
They had they gone to the same school, they might have come up as cops together, or they might have come up as criminals together. Like, it really could have gone that way.
Totally.
And it's weird because it's almost a commentary on the two actors as well, because there's a lot of like, it kind of can play that way. But it's not. But it's weird because that movie is not the first time they acted together by any stretch, and not the last time they acted together. But it's the only one people really think about or talk about. It's.
What did they ever share?
I don't know if they shared
scenes
screen
together,
time. Wait.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that might be. I think that might be the thing. Was like they've been in movies together or a movie
Right,
together.
but they were playing opposite each other in Heat, right?
But
So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like-
and very much.
and they
opposite each other.
shared scenes though in the Heat,
Mhm.
which like I don't know if they did in
Mm.
any other movie prior. Is why that was like the deal.
Yeah,
But
they were like actually on screen, like acting against one another.
Yeah.
I think
Like, and
that's
not
very-
but weirdly not a lot. Like that's the thing. Even in Heat, it's not a
Yeah.
lot.
Oh yeah, no, totally. Yeah.
But it's
Um,
profound though, because what is it? What is
No.
it, like a diner scene
'cause
or
they were-
something? That's like
Yeah,
super
It is
popular?
very much a
Oh,
diner
yeah.
scene. Yeah.
It's just a
Um,
good
They were in
scene.
both Godfathers, but I don't think they've shared screen time in either of those.
Yeah.
Carlito's Way,
Like
I
that.
bet you De Niro played someone else that was not even related to Pacino being a cop.
I don't even remember De Niro in Carlito's Way.
He was probably a gangster, like like because Pacino
Did
was
you
the
guys
cop.
see
So like, I don't
Pacino
know.
at the Oscars?
I heard he made a blunder.
But then
I mean,
he came out and was like, "Hey, it
wasn't
wasn't,
really a
my
blunder.
fault." He was like,
He just skipped through everything.
he just
like-
skipped. He just skipped the
Yeah, he
minutia
just
and was
skipped
like,
the
"Here go the
whole-
winner."
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
Which
That's
I
essentially
heard
what he
people
did.
flipping out about it, and I'm like, could you guys find more important things to be upset about?
No,
Like,
for sure.
not that
For
if it
sure.
were my film of the 10 and it did, I'd be like, yeah, but we also went through 13 other award shows for the
No,
same
for
10
sure.
films. So,
Throughout the whole show, they're like showing
Right.
each
Yeah.
individual.
No, exactly.
and everybody
And
who
like-
watches the Oscars has the little sheet now, right? Like, we can't pretend everybody
Yeah,
isn't printing that out.
I mean,
so.
but also Pacino came out and was like, "Hey, just to let y'all know, this is what they told me to do.
Oh.
I just
Right.
didn't." He was like, "I just didn't fly and just do whatever I wanted to do." He was like, "This is what they told me to do." So,
You got to listen to the
Yeah.
producer. You know,
So
that's.
dumb.
so he
But
just
even-
did his job. He's an actor. He just did his
But
job.
let's also
Right.
can we give people a break after 70? Like, things happen.
Right.
Like, it's okay. Like,
No.
No, for
we've
sure.
had way
That's
worse and
Pacino,
weird things
like, come
happen, right? I mean, even
Totally.
look at
And,
La La Land and all that bullshit,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like
That was
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
that
And what was
is
that? Somebody
unacceptable.
and then somebody got smacked at the Oscars again, but it wasn't televised.
Well, because I think they have
I
a delay
forget-
now. They're like the Will Smith
I
delay,
forget-
you know.
I forget somebody smacked like an Oscar executive or something like that. Or somebody got smacked, and people were like, "So is he going to be banned for?"
So it just
10 years?
wasn't like on camera.
It
No,
wasn't.
just
It
on
wasn't
camera.
literally
And I was
to
like,
everyone.
and I was like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
probably, and I was like, that's probably going to be the loophole is that they didn't get it on
Right.
camera.
Oh,
so
if
nothing's
people, if we
gonna
don't think
happen
people
to
are
this
slapping
man.
people in Hollywood, people are getting slapped.
yeah.
Fairly regular.
No facts.
So
But I feel like all rules should apply if that's if that's
Right.
the thing.
I agree.
All rules should apply.
Yeah, I swear, and this may not be true, but I'm going to put it out there. But I swear, the people that are upset that Pacino didn't put all the names, because there's a bunch of people on, wheel or armchair critics out there freaking out. But I swear, it's the same people that are mad. There's even the Academy Awards in the first place, right? So they're mad they exist, but then they're mad they didn't go the way
Well,
they're
yeah, but
supposed to.
there's like right.
That's what it
You
feels
didn't care
like.
in the first place.
Yeah.
What do you? Yeah.
They're just like,
It's like,
they
don't
have to
watch
find
it.
something mad about. So that's what it feels
Yeah.
like.
That was like I was on Instagram and this girl like she did like a funny thing and it was like mildly funny. It wasn't something I was like belly laughing at.
Mhm.
And so I was just like, that's kind of funny. And I looked at the comments and somebody was like, this guy commented, obviously it's a guy. This guy commented and he was like, did anybody else find this not funny? And then I was like, nah, only you, but you decided to comment and add
Right.
this to your algorithm instead of just ignoring it. But now you get to see more.
Yeah, I love when people.
Now you get to see more.
I hate
That
you.
makes no sense to me.
Please do.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you for
Please.
pumping up the algorithm so more people see this video. So
Tell me
thank you
more
so
because
much. And
you'll
you get
you'll
to see
put it on
more.
there, and then I'll just
Mhm.
swipe delete, and you can keep commenting. Go ahead.
Yep.
I thought that was just funny. People have a tendency to comment like when they're mad, and I'm just kind of like, I feel like comment when you mad when it's like,
When it matters.
I mean, yes, but also like don't when it matters, yeah. But also I get people have their frustrations they want to vent, but also you don't have to vent everything. You know what I mean? Like people vent about some of the dumbest things. Like it was like a plus size woman working out. And you'd be like, oh, she's fat. Why do you think she's working out? Like I'm confused on
Yeah,
what you thought
we should
this
be
video
encouraging
was.
people in the
Like,
gym.
exactly,
Not,
like,
yeah,
God.
that makes no sense.
I'm like, so I'm like, she damned if she do, damned if she don't. Like, so
Yeah,
like,
she's
if
already
she was
supposed
just
to be in
taking
shape.
cute pictures,
Right.
you would be like, you fat, go into the gym. And now that she's in the gym, you're like, you're fat. Why are you in the gym? I don't know what to
Right.
do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just weird.
There's a lot of like need to be outraged out there. So even let's take the TikTok ban that's not happening yet. That people are losing their people are already saying I'm switching platforms, and I'm like, okay, but like it's going to be 6 months barest of minimum if they passed it today.
Right.
So it's likely more going to be like a year and a half. You could establish a whole like bunch of people. Right. So like everybody should calm down. Keep making your content if you want to.
Yeah.
If you want to switch platforms, do that. But like, don't do it because the house passed. Like that makes no sense.
It's not happening tomorrow.
Right. Sure. And I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just there's no need to take an alarmist view to everything because people do. They just jump straight to the world's on fire because somebody said TikTok ban, and I'm like, well, yeah, sure, but there's a lot of things in government that don't happen. So anyway, I digress.
But also, like you said, it could happen and it couldn't happen.
Right.
No, for sure. Had the TikTok been banned or about to be banned or a few times now.
Yeah.
It's like either way, we'll survive. Somebody will create a new little thing, and
and we do have other platforms. Like we're here on YouTube. If you guys want to keep talking movies, come to YouTube instead of TikTok.
No, for sure. I mean, YouTube is the original, essentially. So it's one of those like, go back to the person you know. Like go back to the.
I have lost my audio, but that's okay. Have you guys seen anything else you want to talk about, or do you guys want to move on to the films?
I haven't seen anything else. Oh, I would like to say my mom just watched the second Aquaman because she was like, I didn't get to see the second Aquaman, and so I tagged her into this HBO Max that I'm using, and she watched it. And I peeked in on her. I'm actually to get a review from her. I'm gonna do like a little review like I usually do for movies with her. And I was like, so what do you think? She was like, it's so predictable. You know the animals are gonna come. You know this is gonna come. And I'm sitting here like, if my mom who was like 65
and not with her fingers on the movie pulse, right?
You know what I mean? Like like she's not heavily into it. She does watch like the Marvel stuff, and she loves like action movies and stuff like that. She got her stuff, but she's not immersed in it like I am to be like director, narrator, and da-da-da-da-da. But for her to be like, yeah, and this is predictable. She's like, the first one was better. I was like, I'm definitely getting a review, ma'am. We're getting a review because I'm like, you nailed it. You nailed it.
No, I disagree that it's better than the first one, or worse than that. The first one's better. The armpit takes me out. I can't. As soon as he smells his armpit, the movie's over from there on in the rest of Aquaman for me.
That's hilarious. I find that
it's literally where I shut the movie off. There's suspending disbelief, and then there's smelling in the water. I mean, I guess I know sharks do it, but like I don't know.
I just feel like if you're a person who's just not in the water, like I would probably do that. And that's all I'm saying. I'm like, but in don't the water, they? Doesn't he?
I guess he doesn't have gills. Or I guess he would have gills, but they're like in his throat. I don't know. Like I don't know.
He just breathe. He's naturally inclined to water. It's like Percy Jackson. Percy Jackson doesn't have gills. He can just breathe on the water. Like. It's just one of those things. It's very like.
But would your armpit smell any more than the salty nastiness around you? Like that's the thing.
And that's why you smell them to see.
I mean, it's just like the stench of the just the shellfish on the bottom of the ocean where he's at alone would be greater than his own armpit.
I just want people
maybe his scent is like stronger than
super scent.
Maybe it is.
Oh, Aquaman's coming in. Okay, here he is.
Yeah.
You never know. You might be able to smell him a mile away.
Yeah, that on top of like being in the sea.
He would smell like a barnacle.
Yeah,
that's how he's actually calling the animals is with his smell. It's not.
Or maybe there's a land smell that we don't know about. Like everybody from land stinks, and so like he's trying to make sure.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Let's give it the Twilight effect though. Like let's give it the Twilight effect. Like when the vampires smell werewolves, they smell musty. Like they smell like there's a dog stench to them.
Right.
So it's a possibility that like there's a stench to humans.
Yeah.
That don't.
And he's both.
They don't equate to the sea. And he's both. So maybe there's
So he could smell his human scent on himself and then go, this is going to offend people. We're thinking far too much about
facts.
a quick little, but whatever.
I will say this though, my hope for like the rest of like Jason Momoa's career, really, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't care because he's making millions of dollars. And
That's
he's,
doing what he wants.
No, for sure. But me personally, I just want them to like give him material that challenges him. Like stop letting him be himself on screen.
No, because when he was in Game of Thrones, he was very seriously acting, and I thought I was like, they hired this guy with a deep, accent, and he must be from the Middle East or something.
DC movies that he acts very well in it. You're like, okay, you can see he put some preparation and some time in this, and it's like he kind of thought about what he's gonna do. But these other films like Fast and Furious and the Aquaman films, y'all just let him be him, and I'm just like, it's not bad because he has a charm to him. I'm not saying it's bad, but also it's like, can you imagine if he took it seriously? Like. Because I feel like he's Thor of the sea, right? So it's like
Thor of the sea. That makes sense.
If Chris Hemsworth didn't take Thor seriously, it would be a joke.
Or his other roles. Hemsworth has shown that he's got a range and that he's not just
for sure. But I just meant like more in a fantastical type of manner, and I feel like that's where Jason Momoa plays a lot. He plays a lot when it's like fantastical, and I'm just like, bro, if you took this really seriously, this would probably be so good.
I agree with you.
Good, but. Yeah, that's neither here nor there, because if you hire Jason Momoa, you want Jason Momoa. So
yeah,
I'm not gonna be mad at that. That's what you want. It's like if you want The Rock, you want The Rock. Kevin Hart. You know what I mean? Ryan Reynolds. Like, well, you want who you want. So.
The downside to that, and I think a lot of actors learn this over time. I know Tom Hanks learned this. I know Adam Sandler learned this. Is that your shtick isn't gonna last. It doesn't have an infinite shelf life. You're gonna be popular for 10, 15 years. And then unless you do something else that kind of elevates you, you're going to be kind of stuck there, and it can end your career. We've watched a lot of people do that. Also, what is it about once you've made it in Hollywood, you have to do some kind of documentary about something you've always wanted to do? Because like Ewan McGregor did it when he got famous. He was like, a motorcycle movie. And now Jason Momoa did a motorcycle movie as well, where he's like traveling.
They all do that.
It's like a thing. It's like once that's how you know they've made it, because they produced some doc or something.
Robert Downey Jr. has one with like a Cars or something like that.
Yeah, and they're all like a series. Yeah, but have you seen those Ewan McGregor doc series?
I saw part of it, but it's been a while.
Incredible. Yeah. Like, oh my god, I love them. Like he's done 3 of them, and they're amazing. But yeah, you should watch them though.
It's like a full-on road trip, and he films the whole road trip, right?
Yeah, it's an insane road trip though. Like with his buddy on motorcycles. And the thing is, like, it's like the most real you'll probably ever see him, and he's just interacting with like normal people, everyday people throughout. Like some of them, he travels from like South America all the way back up to like LA or whatever. It's like all on these motorcycles. Like it's crazy. But then of course he's got this whole crazy team following him, and sometimes they're restricted on like what they can help them do. But the last one was really good because it was like they wanted to use all electric bikes, which was very limiting because the route they were taking had very limited like recharge areas. So they had that kind of chill. There's like all these crazy challenges. So they had that, but also this. Yeah, it's pretty fascinating though. It's really good to see.
I will definitely want to look further into that.
There's one with. Aina said there's one with Keanu Reeves and
Norman Reedus. See, it's a rule.
Yeah.
I feel like when you get to a certain level, like somebody comes to you and is like, we got some money. What you want to do? And they're like, I always want to do this, or like they probably seen somebody else do it. Because like I feel like what was that? Seinfeld's like driving cars, getting coffee, or whatever that thing is, where he's like,
cars with comedians. Yeah, comedians. Yeah.
Cars with comedians. Like I feel like it is. Yeah,
comedians.
Something like that. Yeah, it's something like like that. I can't get the name of it. But like I feel like that kind of inspired a lot of like celebrities. Not to say people haven't done this before, because like Jamie Foxx had a thing where he would have celebrities come, like when he was working with like Smirnoff or something like that. He would have them come to the trailer and have conversations and stuff like that. But I feel like when Seinfeld did that, I think that opened up the world for like a lot of celebrities to be like, oh, okay, if I could do something similar to this in my off time and have fun and still make money and blah 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 and like televise it or
whatever like
right. Yeah. I think it's fun though. I think it's funny, but because even Zac Efron had his thing, like he was like in the wild or something, or he was
Mhm.
climbing
Yeah.
mountains or something. He was doing something. So they all do that. So
I think
That's
I think they get an itch to like produce something, and then they're in charge, so
Yeah.
they can produce whatever they
Well,
want.
Chris
Yeah.
Hemsworth has one on Disney
Yep.
Plus
Yep.
too.
Yep.
That was really
One that
crazy.
actually
Yep.
changed his life because he found out he found out
Yeah.
he could have
Oh, yeah.
that he got potential. Not that he's sick, but he has the gene for the
Right.
sickness,
Exactly,
and that
yeah.
would be
Yeah.
life changing.
Oh, also on that note, shout out to Olivia Munn.
Yeah. Oh
man,
man.
Who,
Yeah.
with her, everything that happened with her cancer, I'm happy that she was able to come out and tell people about it. Just have like a general awareness, especially with women that are like a little older. I'm 37, and I probably should go get checked up and go get checked out on that kind of
Yes.
stuff. And I pray for a speedy recovery, and just happy that she is home with her family and you know on the mend. So yeah, just want to throw that out there.
Brutal.
Yeah.
On that note, not the greatest
Sorry.
place to train. No, that's okay. I mean, we feel the same way. We hope that she just is able to pull through it and does better. That said, though, we do have 2 movies to cover, and we are going to, of course, go straight into. We always tend to do these in chronological order. So we got A League of Their Own, Penny Marshall, 1991, I believe. I always do that. Instead of looking, I guess. I'm terrible.
I love a good guess. Where's
92.
the fun in it if you don't guess?
That's true. That's part of the fun, I guess. Fun, I guess. That was an accidental pun. Let's see. Let's see. League of Their Own, 92. Of course, Tom Hanks, Gina Davis, Lori Petty, Madonna, Rosie O'Donnell, and many more great
Lovitz.
actresses. Lovitz. Probably
He's so good.
I think it's the performance of his career, honestly.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, it's so good.
It really is.
No, for sure. The critic being a critic
yeah.
during
Like a recruiter.
as he's recruiting a recruiting critic.
Right.
So,
nice. So there's no way we haven't all seen this more than once. I just don't buy that.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm gonna say I know that this is one of all the movie things faves. He loves this movie. He loves Penny Marshall. So why don't we start there? What do you think this time around of A League of Their Own?
Yeah, it's one of those where it doesn't matter how many times I watch it. Like I still laugh every single time. You know, like one of my favorite scenes is like when they're Gina Davis and Tom Hanks. It's when Tom Hanks finally it's kind of like a kind of a big moment for Tom Hanks when he finally steps up a little bit to take over, and finally be a coach when they're competing, doing signs and stuff. And Marla is going back and forth, because she doesn't know what to do, because they're both giving her signs. She's like, who do I listen to? But that's one of my favorite scenes. But there's plenty. But I mean, it's Gina Davis. I love Gina Davis. She's incredible. And Lori Petty is really great. Yeah, it's I mean, you got Rosie O'Donnell in there, who she has a kind of a cameo in the series, on the Amazon series.
I didn't know that
came out. Yeah, so she's in that as well. And yeah, it's just honestly, it was one of the best baseball movies out there. Just really, I mean, I feel like Penny Marshall is the only one that could do it at this time. She's got the comedic, gene in her, as well as she's directed so many great films. Directed Tom Hanks in Big, of course, and yeah, it's just one of those kind of feel good movies. You're gonna have a good time every time you put this on. So,
right.
Yeah,
I think everything she directed was either comedy or comedy adjacent. Even if it was it might have been a dramedy, but it always had some comedy element. What about you, La? What'd you think this time around of League of Their Own?
This is one of my favorite films growing up as a kid. I watched this film too many times, so many VHS plays, so many rewinds back. No, not with this film. No. With some films maybe, but not with this film. No.
Right? Yeah.
Just to mimic all the movie things, it's a film that anytime I watch it, I laugh. I know the joke's coming, and I'm still like,
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You're pre-giggling, right? Sometimes you pre-giggle.
I'm like, this is the line where it's no crying in baseball. He's about to say it, and then it's like, it's great.
It's so good,
It's
There's
such
no
a good.
crying.
It's just such a good film, and it's like Penny Marshall was amazing at the directing, and then of course, because you got to have Gary in there.
I know.
Gary
Mhm,
is in there
that's
as
right.
well, and he's like, he has a great. I just feel like he has a great talking voice, so I feel like he can do
Yeah.
anything. Like I feel like there's not a words he can't say that you won't believe that he's saying.
Mhm,
Gina Davis is. I just wish we had like so much more of her. Like I feel like she's.
Yeah.
I feel like Hollywood kind of ruined her, but also didn't in the sense because she was like she's smart enough to be like, let me get up out of here and go do some other stuff that like matters to me. So like I do respect that. But
well,
I just
when
feel
she
like
came back,
has
she played the
talent that,
president.
like,
I'd say that's a pretty good comeback.
yeah.
So
No, for sure. And I just feel like she's like
did start
there's
her,
probably
like,
so much more that she could have done like during like her like I guess prime years. Not to say
her heyday.
that changes your
Yeah.
acting.
Yeah.
Like her heyday.
Right.
Like because I feel like Charlize Theron is what Gina Davis was supposed to be.
Charlize is
just
the
with
modern
like
Gina.
the range that like she's like doing like all like the range of things, the action, because I feel like Gina Davis was doing all that before, and like nobody was really paying attention, and it was just like I feel like somebody was like, we need a Gina Davis type, and then like Charlize Theron popped up, and like because she's tall, she's like blonde. It was like you kind of just plucked her.
In a lot of ways too, you can like, I mean, you could say like Gina Davis walked, so Charlize could run.
So that Charlize could run, like
or even
I agree.
In any of the action female stars to any degree, I would say.
No, for sure.
The big thing at the time too was like studios and executives would look for excuses not to have a woman-led film. So like they were like, okay, here's Cutthroat Island. We'll give you a shot here with Cutthroat Island. It bombed. There was a reason. Then they used it as a reason, even though it wasn't because Gina Davis was in it, but they used it as an excuse to be like not
to collectively like
there was an overbloated budget and sets that were kind of ridiculous. And
So what did she do? She turned around and cranked out The Long Kiss Goodnight and said, I don't give a shit. We're gonna do The Long Kiss Goodnight.
And that's one of my favorite films of all time. I'll watch that just as many times as I've watched A League of Their Own. It's just amazing. But like I love this film. I think it's watching it this time around. I think I paid more attention to the relationships of the people as opposed to like the story, because I knew the story so well. So I can like pay attention to the people individually. And the chemistry between Gina Davis and Tom Hanks is like, I was like, where was I? Did I miss this?
I know. Yeah.
Right.
Did I miss it?
That's why it's so good too, because you're not even really like paying attention to it. You're just like, it just works. And they're
both that good.
Because it's like you really look at it like I really look at it like they kind of had like a crush on each other, because they were leaning on each other in a time where like her husband was off to war. She wouldn't hear from him for like 3 weeks because it don't know if he's alive. He's already like in his own type of mental war in a sense. You know what I mean? Because of like he was at the height of his career, and now he's like the coach for girls playing baseball, and that was like was a hit to his ego. So she got him sober, and he helped her love the game even more. And it was, I don't know, they just worked really well together. And I like really paid attention to that. But then I also paid attention to the fact that even though I understand her, but I've always felt like Kit was annoying. But even though
I feel that.
Even though I understand her, I can understand, and she's valid. And she's valid at some points, because it's like it's hard to like, it's giving Loki. It's hard to be under.
It is hard to play second fiddle, right?
It's very hard, especially when the other people in your life kind of reinforces what you're already thinking, feeling.
And her sister didn't like baseball as much as her, so like she could do it really well and didn't like it very much. Damn,
she didn't like it very much, and she was just a natural, and like because you could tell that like she really didn't really start to play until like the World Series. Like she was like just having a good little fun, catching the bat behind my back, little splits. Like she was just like just a little. It was just natural. But when she got to the World Series and she was pissed off, man, I was like, oh, she playing, like so it shows you like just the level of like how far ahead she could have been, that she's probably been dumbing it down this entire time for her sister.
For her sister, right?
But she can only diet down so much, you know what I mean? Like talent is talent. But like, I don't know, this film just hits all type of beats. It hits the emotional beats, it hits the comedic beats, it hits the, you know, it then like, you know, I wish that there was a version where like because you get that one little scene with the black woman that throws the ball. And old girl was like, woof, like, woo. And then she was just like, no, she got skills out here. You know, she's just like nodded her head a little bit. I just wish there was a version where like we could see like African-American women start to integrate into it. Like, I think that would have been really cool. But all in all,
this was
like,
even
this is,
before
like, one of my favorite films.
Jackie Robinson was in the MLB, I assume. I think this is at least a few years before, because this is the beginning of World War II. Jackie Robinson didn't become a baseball player until mid 1940s, I don't think.
Okay.
So I think it was a nod to what was coming, even though it was females. It was still like, well, there's an integration about to happen.
Yeah, I think it was part of that, but also there was an element of that, of black women like had formed their own kind of like teams and stuff like that at the time. And so the TV show uses that little moment that we see in this film. They really run with that in the TV show a little more, and they explored that element. So there's a whole.
I plan on watching that too.
This
made me want to watch the TV show, even though I know it's like done or whatever. But I was like, this like pumped me up to watch the TV show.
Because they explore so many different elements. You know, they explore like a lot of the like possible like sexuality that women were exploring with themselves, you know, and each other. I mean,
I assume harassment still as well gets thrown in there.
Oh yeah, of course, of course, being a woman in baseball, and then also like one of the lead black characters, she's also like a comic book artist. She's like into drawing comic books, which I loved, and she's like trying to play baseball and trying to like
that's awesome. Does it go through more than one season on the show?
No, they unfortunately canceled it.
So it should have gone to another season.
Should have, no. So Amazon, I believe, said they were going to pick it up for a second season, and then I can't remember what happened. They decided to cancel it and not go with a second season. So they were going to do it, and then they canceled it. I don't know if it was like strike related.
This world, for some reason, just don't like women playing baseball, because
I know. It's
that like, TV show Pitch, you know, Rage did a video about like, you know, Pitch only had one season, but it was like an amazing series. I was like, what, y'all don't like women playing baseball? What's up?
I don't think that any of these streaming companies understand what television does, how television works, and how television needs to build an audience over time. The first season is really just a flavor for everybody. And most of the time, most shows don't find their footing until second, third season. If you watch Parks and Rec, if every other season was like season one, I would have never continued watching Parks and Rec. But because season two found its footing, it changes the show to a really wonderful place. I tried to continue with
Parks. I couldn't get through first season Parks.
You got to
I don't think it's for me.
Just watch season 2 first, and then go back and rewatch season 1.
The thing too is like standard broadcast TV has 22 episodes.
Right.
So even then, you know, we're still.
My brain doesn't work that way no more. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's so annoying. Like I finally watched The Bear, and I get it. I get what everyone was talking about. It's fucking amazing.
It's a great show.
But, but it's only 8 episodes. Like, come on. Like,
which is fine. It's a long movie.
It's fine. Yeah, but
like that should give you reason to have 5 seasons lined up.
Exactly.
There should be no reason for canceling shows in seasons 2 and 3. One of my favorite shows Netflix ever did was Santa Clarita Diet. I absolutely adored that show. And it leaves season 3 on a cliffhanger, and then they're like, we're done. And I'm like, you couldn't have arranged a movie? You couldn't have done something? For sure.
Like, see, that's some stuff I don't like about Netflix, is that they'll have like an original show or something like that, and it's like really, really good. And then they'll cancel it like season 2 or season 3.
Because the numbers aren't there.
Right. But it's also like, how can the numbers be there when you have so much streaming? Like, it's going to come back. Like, it's going to like come back around. So like, give it a chance to come back around. But I guess you want that turnover profit. Like,
they also would freak out on that first weekend.
Cancel something
right? If they didn't get the numbers that first weekend, it's out.
Without thinking about it. And give me a movie, give me like a short or a mini to wrap this up.
Give me a comic book, something, man. Just show me how the story ends. That's all I need. I don't need the rest. So I watched this one in the theater. I was a teenager when I watched this, so I was, I think, 15. I was a movie hound then too, so I was in the theater constantly every weekend. And of course, Tom Hanks, like, drew me in because Tom Hanks, you know, big, freaking The Burbs, freaking Bosom Buddies, you know. Of course I'm watching Tom Hanks. Or, you know, or some of his drama. I don't think I was into his drama at 15 because, you know, I don't think I was like, let me check out Philadelphia Story. I didn't watch that until I was in my 20s. Things like that. But he still kind of had the like early Hanks humor in this, and that's something that I have always liked. His humor's always been great. Somebody made I made this mention. This is totally an aside. I'm sorry, but it's about Tom Hanks. So I was comparing like actors from generations. Like every generation has a certain, like we just talked about with Charlize Theron is kind of the new Gina Davis. Well, I was thinking the other day, who could be any generation's Jimmy Stewart? Like, how do you do that? How do you Jimmy Stewart ever again? And it's Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks is this generation's Jimmy Stewart. And I'm like, oh wow, that's weirdly mind blowing. So, because he's that guy. He's just the like lovable dad guy.
Yeah.
So. In this, he's not. He's a complete drunk, and he's very. You want to hate him. You want to hate him so much.
I love that for Tom Hanks' career. Yeah, I love that for his career because he needed that like little shake up. Because even though he's like a bad guy, he still kind of turns into like a. He has a good heart because he's a bad. He's doing bad things. He evolves and like as a character should. But I love that he was like screaming and yelling at them. I watched these reactors react to it, and they were like. One girl was like, you need to be gentle, you know, like this softball. And it's like, I was like, no. I was like, you don't need to be like, I don't feel like you need to be disrespectful. Right. But if a coach is going to coach. No, he's like, he's a good coach. Like coach me.
Right. Yeah.
But he's just a little rude with it. So it was like one of those moments where I was like, you could be a little like, that's why when he's like yelling at Evelyn towards the end, and he can't even get the words out. He's just, that scene is so good.
So good. Right. Yeah.
It's like, so good. Cause he's okay, I learned I can't yell at you, but you know what I'm saying,
and
right?
Her reaction to him too.
She's just like
so good.
She's just like nodding. Yeah. And I love her because she plays Sharona on Monk.
Oh, okay.
With
oh my god.
With Adrian can I think it's Monk. So and I love Monk growing up. So like seeing Sharona on there was just like seeing her in this, and I was like,
yeah. Also, I love the way they introduced Tom Hanks' character, like, to the team. I mean, he just walks in, with the long, like, what a way to, like, this is the first time he's meeting them, like.
Honestly, Tom Hanks throughout this whole film is very iconic. He has, like, very good iconic moments. Man. Like, people still say there's no crying in baseball because he said it, like, it's a thing. And then it's like, like if I just think of like a League of Their Own, I can always see his scenes like so clearly in my head.
Well, like, the stance he's got, like he's got that really like very clearly baseball coach stance.
But he also walks very pigeon-toed because of the injury and stuff like that. So it's like that pigeon-toed walk, and then it's like just little things that he does, like he's about to chew tobacco and like spit. He's a very like thought. I can't think of the word, but he's like a very through line character. Like they thought about every aspect of his character. Like they gave.
I'm willing to bet you that he brought 60% or more of that from what he read in the script.
Because he's not a lead. You know what I mean? He's like,
and like not only that, I've been reading a lot of scripts more and more and more, like really trying to delve into them. And the more I read them, the more I realize that most of it's not on the page. The description is vague intentionally. Like it'll just say baseball coach, middle-aged, or something to that effect. And then it doesn't even really convey emotion. Like he has to bring that, and it's like the more you think of that, it's like holy shit.
Or it could be a description of like what they want, but then somebody will come in and just change that whole description, and you're like, oh, okay, that's what I wanted for the character.
Right, it really is. Like, I didn't know that until you did that.
You know what I mean? And I feel like they gave Tom Hanks just enough of what he needed, and he just filled in the rest of the blanks. Like a good actor should. So
right. I want to go back to Lori Petty for a second because this is not a typical role for her. I mean, kind of in her early career, she played kind of the whinier, soft, like the more frail character. But that's not the way I think of Lori Petty in my head. I think of Point Break. I think of Tank Girl. I think of I think of Rough and Tumble, Orange is the New Black. Like I think that's what I think of Lori Petty. So when I do get to see her in these more innocent roles, I'm like, oh damn, she really is great. She has such a great range. And she's underutilized to this day. She's on TikTok if you want to say hi to her. But there's so many women that get shafted once they hit 40 or 50, and it's that's done. You're either going to play a grandma or like Kathy Bates, a good example in the next movie.
Right.
Loved getting to see that much of her still. Like,
Yeah.
No,
I
for
need
sure.
more
But also,
Kathy
I
Bates.
just feel
So,
like I would want more. I know it's hard. I'm not saying this is like an easy thing, even being in Hollywood, even being in those scenes. But I would just love it if more actors who kind of got slighted by Hollywood would do what like influencers are doing, or like people on social media are doing, and just create their own stuff. And it's like you can get your iPhone out. I'm pretty sure you can afford a really good iPhone and just like be a creator. You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
would just, because I would love to see what they had in their brains. I would love to see what they have in their minds, and like, and if it's a good enough concept, I'm pretty sure you can get some type of backing. You know what I mean? Even small, at least, just to get you somewhere. I would love if they did more of that, because I'm like, you can't really wait on Hollywood, because they'll be waiting forever, because once they kind of done, they're done, unless you do something to like get their attention.
I think we're in a new
Yeah,
era
man.
that might start to happen more. But then there's people on
hope
the other
so.
side saying influencing is over. And I'm like, well, that's a weird thing for an influencer to say. Considering that's a gotcha
No, for sure.
headline,
That's
you
like
know.
how you,
Because
exactly.
they're just higher caliber influencers. Like
Right.
there's no
Right.
the
A
only
celebrity
difference
is, they are
between
the
them and,
pinnacle,
like,
right? That's
Yeah.
right,
Exactly.
but the only
Yeah.
difference between them and like an Instagram influencer who does make money and have millions of followers is that they just don't make the same amount of money,
well,
but they
Right.
have
there are
the
Aquafinas
same
of
amount
this
of
world,
influence.
Aquafina. She swung from YouTube right on over into mainstream film.
Totally.
And
Oh yeah.
even in films where I'm like,
mean,
why
Not
are you the
that's
lead
like-
in this? I don't understand.
Right.
That's
Right.
that's like Quinta Brunson. Like, she went from
Yeah.
BuzzFeed to like out here
Yeah.
winning Emmys and stuff, like creating her own thing. So sky's the limit, man. Like, you can just keep going, never stop. So
Agreed. Did this movie, I know this movie is praised, like basically, I don't know anybody that's like,
Right.
a league of their own, maybe a bunch of sexist dudes probably, but but I'm not hanging out with them anyway, so that's good. But did this movie, I mean, it's a comedy. Comedies don't tend to win awards. Did it win a lot of awards of any kind? It feels like it should have. I love the fact that it's steeped in a lot of real history. It's still its own story, so it's not 100% true, but it's still, this is the kind of movie that La and I talked about where these are the kinds of movies that made me want to learn more about certain things. Like, here's a little bit of the truth with a little bit of storytelling. Go find out more.
It was nominated for some Golden Globes, but
Nice.
But
that's
a lot of
about
other
it.
small things, but yeah, that's about it. Like nothing like,
yeah, I
American
think the
Comedy
most
Awards.
things are
So it's just
like,
loved by the audience, basically.
it got preserved. It got preserved in the National Film Registry,
As it should.
and Tom Hanks's There's No Crying in Baseball got ranked 54th as like, AFI's 100 quotes of like film.
So film quotes were the early memes in a lot of ways, because we would all do them and say them to each other. And then radio stations would pick up very famous quotes and then repeat them over and over and over again. So it feels like that's kind of the early world of memes.
Yeah, for sure.
Somewhat.
It just evolved. Like, I try to explain to people, like, nothing's really new. Everything's just kind of like rebranded and evolved in a sense. Like, nothing's like really new.
During the
Because
filming
people
of
are
the
like,
World
I go on
Series,
this thing and download this. I'm like, that's LimeWire, Napster. What do
You're
you-
right.
during the filming of the World Series games in A League of Their Own, stars took turns entertaining the unpaid extras. Hanks did a puppet show over the dugout. Rosie O'Donnell did a
Oh
stand-up,
my god.
and
Yeah.
Madonna performed.
Dang.
I love it.
What?
As they should. Thank you.
And you're
Yeah.
getting paid to sit
Imagine.
there? Come on. What an afternoon.
You just getting a show by these like, and these were like people in the height of their
Yeah,
career,
Madonna in
regardless of what they were.
'92. She was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that was during the time when she
No,
was
like, for
doing,
sure.
Like a Prayer and all that. Like, holy
Yeah.
shit.
So, and Rosie O'Donnell's always been like funny, and
Well, in
people were
90,
losing their
yeah, this is when
mind,
she was
and
like
Tom Hanks was like,
performing everywhere. But a puppet show from
Yeah,
Tom
so-
Hanks? All right. I mean,
I'm here for
I
it.
know.
I'll
I
watch
know he
it.
did puppet shows.
I didn't either.
I'll watch it. I'm here for it. I just think
Yeah.
that cast was like, I think it was cast perfectly. I think
Yeah.
it was
They
cast
actually won a
like
casting
everyone,
award.
as
Yeah.
it should. Every
Yeah,
cast,
right,
like everyone played their part. I will say this though, I love that Marla Hooch got married. Come on,
I
Marla.
know.
Because they played her throughout this whole film of like, she's ugly, she's not
Yeah.
attractive, like, da, 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 da. Like everybody being afraid when they see her and stuff like that. I'm just like, geez, Louise, leave this woman alone.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, no. And it's
And
still
that's
one
a
of those
classic
movies.
scene too. Her scene at the club where she's singing to Nelson.
Yeah.
Classic scene.
Love it.
Classic.
Yeah.
I love this movie because it's one of 90s movies do this a lot. And like, camera turns and all of a sudden it's Téa Leone and then she's gone. and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
No, for
That's
sure.
what she
Okay.
is, yeah. She
It just-
did it for
they just kind
half
of,
a
you know,
second.
movies
Like for
are
real,
filled with
literally
famous
half a
people,
second, she's there.
right?
Yeah.
But they're always filled with famous people, but you don't know they're famous
Yeah.
for 20 years, and then you'll know. Then
No,
you'll
for
know
sure.
they're famous.
Uh-huh.
So
For sure.
I love it.
Because who played the husband, Bill Pullman?
Yeah.
I was like, come
Yeah.
on, Bill Pullman.
Yeah, I know.
He'd already been Lone Star.
happy
To
to
me,
see
he
him.
was on my radar big time. So
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Spaceballs was-
And then like David Strait, wasn't it? David Strathan, or how you
Strathairn.
pronounce his name? Yeah,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
love him as an actor. I think he's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a phenomenal actor, and I
And
think
he's great in
I've
this
always
again,
liked
too.
him throughout his stuff. Like I liked him in this. I liked him through our stuff, but I think when I saw him in Alphas, when he was in Alphas, and I was able to like watch him like episodically like do things, I was like, he's phenomenal. I was like, oh, I think that's where my love for him kind of like grew really, really. And they canceled that after
2 seasons. 2
Yep.
seasons of Alphas.
on a big cliffhanger.
I would-
the
I would
biggest
bet-
cliffhanger you could think of.
The failure of Heroes over 4 seasons, for what we can argue the reasons, had a lot to do with why a lot of superhero type shows
I
just
agree.
couldn't
I'm
hold
not
on
mad at
after
that.
that.
I agree.
Which sucks,
I agree.
you know. And the CW doesn't count because that's just Warner Brothers playing with their own, you know, whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, NBC television, I swear NBC, CBS, ABC will never stop doing just cop drama, like one word title
Right.
stuff that I still don't know who that audience is, but they're big. I don't know those people that watch those, like Chicago Fire. I just don't. I'm not nothing against you. I just don't know who you are. I don't know who watches those shows, but they have a huge audience for those kinds of shows. And I don't know how you could watch those shows and not figure out the formulaic nature of screenwriting, because it's always the same, right? It's literally this kind of flatline story that happens. This is why I like movies, because you can cram
that's
things a little
crazy.
differently.
So one of the actresses who was on the Racine team, she's a pitcher on the Racine team,
Mhm.
is the wife of Wayne Gretzky.
That's
crazy.
great.
I
Love it.
think that's great.
Have you guys looked at all the actresses now come to then? Like, it's very different. Don't recognize.
Shout out to
some
Ann
people.
Cusack for being Shirley Baker.
Anytime Cusack is in anything,
Any Cusack,
She-
any
she-
Cusack's.
I'm not an any Cusack. I'm a Joan Cusack person. I think John's fine.
No.
I don't.
I do love
I don't
No,
hate
Joan's
him.
amazing.
I don't hate
Oh,
him,
yeah.
but I
Joan's
don't
amazing.
love him. He's fine. I'll watch a movie
I
with
feel
him in
like
it.
Joan.
But Joan
Joan
blows my mind.
takes.
Yeah,
I feel like
she's
Joan
good.
takes more risk in what she does as opposed to
Yeah.
him. And so when you see her, you're like, oh, like
Have you guys seen her on
always
Shameless?
makes an
'Cause
impact.
she's freaking amazing.
Oh, I
on
love her on
Shameless.
Shameless. I
Yeah.
love her on Shameless, but she makes an impact wherever you see her. Like even if it's like a secondary thing,
exactly.
she's only popping in for like a few seconds. She always makes an
Have you
impact.
guys seen In and Out with Kevin Kline?
Yes.
Not
Yeah,
for a long
She
time.
steals the show in that movie. Like
man.
she's
For a long
the
time.
thing in that movie. Which is funny because it's about
I mean,
him.
Even like,
So-
yeah.
Wasn't
no,
she in
even little
Toys? Who was
roles-
in Toys with Robin Williams?
She was in Toys. She totally was.
Okay,
Yeah.
that is her. Okay.
Well, and even small roles like, School of Rock, where she's the principal. Like,
Yes.
she even has,
And
great
she's
little.
with the beard and
in
she's
that.
singing like Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
She's singing like
I've never seen School of Rock.
Oh man.
Sir.
so
Oh,
good.
Aina. I'm
That's so
saying it right now.
sweet.
Aina, put it
Yeah,
on the
there you
list
go.
because we about to watch it.
My wife has been
Put it
telling
on the
me-
list.
So I like Linklater. I like
Yeah.
those kind of, simple comedies that are just lighthearted. I love that kind of stuff. But if this is going to sound so stupid, I love Jack Black until I don't. Like,
Right.
I absolutely love the guy, and in so many of his roles, I
Jack
could just
Black.
watch it forever. I could watch Tenacious D's Pick of Destiny 1,000
Yeah.
times. Doesn't bother me. But then I watched the episode of Community where he shows up, and I know Buddy's supposed to be annoying, but that's the other half of Jack Black. And whenever he's that character in movies, I cringe and I don't like them. And so
He's
my
not that
brain,
in
I know, but my brain keeps telling me he is that character in that movie. So
Right.
It's cool.
I
You're
avoid
gonna
it,
watch it,
so.
so it's gonna be okay. You're gonna watch it. You
So
gonna watch
okay,
the show.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that thinks Jack Black can be too much, and it's not because he's not Will Ferrell about it. Sometimes he's just Jack Black. Hey,
No, I
how you
can't
doing,
stand
Jack?
Will Ferrell.
Will
I'm
Ferrell
never do that.
is always, I swear he's like waiting to become
don't-
Will Ferrell at any moment, Is you just Will Ferrell is the modern Robin Williams, because Robin Williams used to drive everyone crazy. As much as I love him,
No, for sure.
people got so sick of him on set because he would just never stop.
It's like turn it off,
right?
Turn it off. But also, it's one of those things where it's like, as a person who feels like I'm on all the time for people, because like the moment I stop talking, people are like, "Are you sad? What's going on? Are you all right?" And then like now I'm just like, now I gotta be like, but bump every time I say something. And so like I 100% kind of understand Robin Williams to a certain extent. Like I don't understand him fully because I didn't do like cocaine and stuff like that and all the kind of stuff that kind of like led to his like sadness and depression. Because but
everything can lead you like you don't have to have drugs to lead you there.
Yeah. Well, he said this.
No, I know he did. No, I'm saying not saying.
I'm just saying he said it to Matthew Lawrence. I'm just saying like just for him, like in particular, like he said this to Matthew Lawrence, and so like that he said that's what contributed to him like being the way he is essentially. Sure. And but like I kind of understand that though, and like it's weird to like be off because it's like I gotta bring joy, right? I gotta bring happiness. Everybody has to be happy when they're around me because that's what they expect, you know. And it's hard to kind of like switch that off, but it can be annoying. So I try to check myself a lot because it can be annoying. Yeah. And for me, there were moments where like Robin Williams was a lot for me, and I like avoided a lot of his films. So I 100% understand what you mean about Jack Black, like 100%. Yeah. So
no, and I probably will watch it, and I will watch it, and I'll go, I should have watched this when it came out.
We watch it.
See, I always think of like Nacho Libre when I think of Jack Black, and that movie is cringe. And terrible.
I've never watched Nacho Libre for that moment. Because I didn't want to sully my feelings for Jack Black. Because when I saw the trailer, I was like, "This not for me. This is for somebody else that like them like this. It's not for me."
Yeah, I think it was the Napoleon Dynamite crowd that wanted Nacho Libre. That's just.
See, even Keys. Look, Keys was on your side. Listen to Keys. I'm just saying. I will put it on it's on my list. What am I talking? It's literally on my watch list. It's just never. Well, I already put it on the list for the real study, so we gonna watch it though. So.
All right, we could do a link letter,
and I think it's like on YouTube. I think it's like on YouTube for free. Actually,
I think I own it. So like that's the thing. Like I have no excuse for not.
I love that about you.
I will buy movies knowing I want to watch them, and then they'll sit there for a while. So
I do that because I still haven't seen The Revenant. Too. And I own that.
Oh, you gotta watch. That's good. That's good. That's great cinematography. That's great direction.
I have a feeling. Listen, right here, Snitty. I have a feeling right up in here, right, that it's amazing.
Oh, it is.
I just wanted to own it because I was like, he won an Academy Award for this, and I needed on Blu-ray and everything.
No, if you ever want to know what it's gonna feel like to get attacked by a bear, watch that movie. You'll know what it's like.
Got you. And that's just like what's the Anne Hathaway musical movie? Les Miserables? Les Mis. I own that. I bought a big like little booklet thingy and like you fold it out. Oh, still ain't watched it.
And you weren't here the week we watched it on the show. Oh, we never got allowed to watch Les Mis.
I was so sad. I think it's so funny that whenever I do like dip off for a little bit, I'm like, I got a thing and I can't be here. Y'all always watch some stuff that I'm like, dang, that was on my list.
I was waiting for that one. Right?
Yes.
Do you guys have anything else you want to say about A League of Their Own, other than everybody who hasn't seen it should get to it tonight?
I feel like everybody should watch that immediately. It's I think it's like one of cinema's best films of all time, hands down.
All right, so let's start the rating right there. That's a good place to rate. What do you think, La?
10.
10. For those of you that have not been watching The Real Study for 3 years, a 10 from La is very rare. Very rare.
That's a rare. Yeah.
So, gotta love it. Like all right. How about you? Right. How about you, Brian?
It's a 10.
Wow.
I heard it and I was like, you better repeat it. Wow.
So I've been watching Community as well, and Owen Wilson shows up for like a split second.
I'm gonna rewatch Community one day. I've seen it like twice already.
6 seasons in a movie, and the movie's next year.
I need that movie, man. I need that movie. I cannot wait. So I have to watch it. I'll probably start now, or like summer or something.
You just have to accept the fact that halfway through the show, it becomes a completely different show. You just have to accept that.
Oh, and I'm okay. And honestly, here's the thing about that. The thing about Community that I liked, right, was that it was so like meta and unmeta. Just a segue for a second, my bad. But like it's so meta and unmeta at the same time that whatever like turns they made, I was like, that makes sense. That makes sense in the
Well,
context of the show because they
Right.
did so much anyway. Like they would go cinematic and then they would go comedic and then it would
Right.
be documentary. And then they did so much that like when they turned them into animations, I was like, all right, I'll go with it. Like
It's because
Abed's
the
head.
show
I'll
is
go with it, you know?
Abed's head, exactly. And Dan
Yeah.
Harmon
Yeah.
is a screenwriter that understands how to unravel everything.
Yep,
Rick and
and I was
Morty
cool with
is
that. I was
Rick
like,
and
I'm good with
Morty
that.
is just an animated community, quite literally.
Agreed.
And it's
Agreed.
just a different character, but it's the same universe. You could show up in Rick and
Agreed.
Morty and find them in college. Yeah.
I'm gonna go through Community to see if anybody wears Rick and Morty stuff eventually.
I don't think they crossed over.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think
Now, you
as
never
soon as
know. You
Community
never
was
know. Somebody
over,
might have a
he
T-shirt
moved to
on or
Rick and Morty.
something.
I can tell you there's a
maybe
great
right then.
Beetlejuice joke to watch for in Community, but that's all I'm going to tell you.
Nice.
Okay, so I should probably rate the film as well. I'm going to give it a 10. It's one of the best comedies. Throw it on, enjoy it, have a blast with it. It's great.
One of the best dramas too, because when George died in the war, oof,
Yeah, no, that's
oof. Because even Rosie O'Donnell was crying, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't in the script for her to cry. She just cried because that scene was just a strong scene.
it's hard
know.
to not have drama involved in a historical project. Like it's going to just have that naturally in it. So
Yeah.
or the tragedy.
And I will say this, as much as I would have loved them to integrate African American women into this, especially with them like having their own league and things like that. I enjoyed the time capsule in which Penny Marshall gave us. You know what I mean? I wouldn't change anything about it. You know what I mean? As much as I'm like, it would have been cool to see some. It would have been cool, but what I got was absolutely amazing. And I'll watch this film. I'll have my kids watch this film if I ever have kids. I'll have my nieces and nephews watch this film because it's just such a good film. But yeah,
all right, agreed.
Well, and too, like the fact that they're like having it's the 90s, it's early 90s. And the misogyny of Hollywood is like going strong at this point, so they have this woman directed film about women in baseball, is like
it was progressive.
Having men take a secondary, men take a seat to that.
Yeah, it's just jumping off your point, a lot of that what we got was really great, so they really, I imagine they had an uphill battle to get this movie.
No, for sure.
For sure. But yeah, love it.
All right. Let's move on to Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. I messed up the name of this movie like 100 times because it's an easy one to mess up. Also never read the book, so it did stick in my head. Didn't know it was a book until my wife was like, I read that book. So this was all kind of like blew my mind. I'm going to tell you guys what I thought real quick, and then I have to step away for a minute because we have kind of a thing happening, but you guys can, of course, please keep talking, and I will be back. So shocked that I hadn't really known much about this. Love, like I said, Kathy Bates, she's one of my all-time favorite actors. Seeing her in any kind of maternal or grand maternal role is fantastic, and she did excellent in this film. I did like this film ultimately. At first it was extremely awkward, but I think that's kind of the point. You're supposed to feel the awkwardness of these preteen girls just discovering who they are as kids and as women, really, if you get into it. Ultimately this is a solid flick. I definitely cried in the end. And I think the McAdams character, while we know that the girls, the whole point is to have their story change and arc, seeing the mom get an arc that actually changed her as a person for a better person was also really great. I liked that. That said, I'll let you guys take it from there, and I'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
Alrighty. What'd you think of Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret? Brian?
I love it. Like I saw it when it first came out. I feel like not a lot of people were going out to watch it for some reason. And I was like very much a fan of this movie and was really trying to get out there. I do wish it received more accolades than it did because it did come out relatively early in the year. Rachel McAdams was like, I was on the campaign, essentially my own campaign, to get her nominated for Best Supporting Actress in something. She did get some awards, I believe, or some nods.
Oh yeah, she got a lot of nominations, and she got some awards too, though. So yeah,
it was like one of the better performances I've seen from her.
I agree.
But definitely cried at it. Just like was really surprised at how much I love this movie too. Like I had read the book, and yeah, everyone's so good in it. Abby Ryder Fortson. Oh my God, she's
Oh
so
my gosh! Please speak on her.
she's
Please.
yeah, she's so great. I mean, like to like, and what a like challenge to like at her young age as an actress to like take on. I mean, she is this film. You know, she's the title character. Like that's such a massive task and have, which I think is where the supporting cast really comes into play with these kind of things. You know, like they really helped boost her up,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and lift her up. I think, and she had like, I mean, she had Kathy Bates to work with.
No,
You know
for
what I
sure.
mean? Like, what the hell? Like, damn, what? Like, that's incredible.
She's like
And
12 or like she's like between
yeah,
13 and 14, and you're like you're acting opposite Kathy Bates. Like,
yeah, like that's pretty good acting
yeah.
class right there. You know, and then Kelly, the director, Kelly Freeman Craig. This is that's not new territory for her because she directed
Mm-mm.
Edge of 17.
Edge of 17.
You know, which is like I love that movie.
That's a solid. Yeah, that's a solid one too.
Yeah,
Like
a great
a girl coming of age,
again.
just at a different,
Yeah.
age, like not too far
Yeah.
from where these girls are. Like this
Right.
is, yeah, this was great for her to like
Right. Yeah,
put her, sink her teeth into. Yeah.
for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's all.
I saw what was that? I did see the movie,
Yeah.
but I read that Judy Blume,
Yeah.
over 49 years of her like having this book of like of her career, she's rejected everybody from
damn.
for adapting for 49 years. She's rejected
Wow.
everybody from adapting this book,
Oh
and
my
then she
goodness.
finally sold
I
it to
didn't know
James
that.
L. Brooks and Kelly Freeman Craig.
Yeah.
And so she sold the rights to them. And so I was in my mind, I was like, that might have been one of the best decisions she's ever made, because
Totally.
I thought that this film got made already. I was like, isn't there already another film? Like,
Yeah.
I was like, there has to be another
think
film,
by
because like I didn't
now,
read
like,
this
yeah.
book growing up. Like I didn't read this in school.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I was like, there has to be another movie. And lo and behold, it's not, because Judy said no. Judy said no. But I thought that this film was amazing. I thought this film was so good.
Yeah.
Abby, I kept looking at her face and I'm like, who is she? I'm like, who is that?
Mm-hmm.
Who is she? And I'm like, that's the little girl from Ant-Man. I said,
I
oh my
She's so
gosh.
adorable at Ant-Man too.
Is she? I was like, oh my gosh. And she's like, I don't know. I feel like a proud like cousin or something, because like I'm like, she's doing phenomenal in this film. Like just the certain beats, the emotions that she hits throughout the film. Like I was just like, my
she plays
God,
the awkwardness part really well.
The awkwardness and this just like, and then like the maturity as well, because she seems to have very like hippie like parents that kind of like lets her kind of breathe, and then like her grandmother is very like vivacious and open herself, so she has like these like awesome people around her that she's like pulled into her own like personality. It was just getting it to like align with like herself, right? So like that was amazing watching her do that. Rachel McAdams is a joy to watch on screen. Like I like that she's like kind of picking and choosing what she wants to do. Like she's not like an actress that's like, I'm gonna just do everything. Like she kind of picks stuff that's like that means something to her, that has like some heart or like maybe it's like a thriller and it's like this, this character kind of got me. So like I was to see her like be a mom and to see her like in that space was like amazing. And she has some subtlety in her acting. I think I'm gonna make a little video.
Yes.
I think I'll make a video with just some of her scenes. Like, but the scene that gets me is the scene where Margaret asks about like her grandparents. Like she asks about her mom, and the ability to convey a sadness from a long time ago in the present, that's a skill. That's a skill that I was like, I don't think I've ever seen anybody do it quite as well as she did on screen. Because the way that she was like, I'm sorry, and like she just wiped her face and she's like, and she's a lot of I'm like, that's literally when you have to recall something that's traumatic. That's how you act when you have to recall something. I was like, Rachel McAdams is like phenomenal in this film, and just how sweet she is, and like how she grows a little bit by like, being around her daughter more. Actually, her daughter helps her grow, and Margaret grows, and just seeing the awkwardness of like young teen girls, like it was so awkward to watch it on screen. But I was like,
Yeah.
that was kind of my life. That was kind of
Yeah.
my life. The only thing I didn't really like I could relate to was the boob thing, because mine came in immediately.
Right.
Mine was like,
You're like, I'm sorry,
came-
ladies. I was not doing.
Mine came-
I was not doing.
I was
those
not
exercises.
doing I was not doing the exercises. I wasn't putting socks in there because mine came in.
Yeah,
I went to
that's
sleep,
so funny.
woke up. I was like, wow.
Like,
I
oh,
said, where did those come from? Like
yeah.
it was overnight, like for real. It was like overnight, and it was
this
like
isn't
crazy.
what I
And then
prayed
like,
for.
to see more. No, for sure, didn't at all. And to
Funny.
see like a film where like young girls are like portrayed as young girls, like the awkwardness and the conversations
Yeah.
that we have in private, like curious about like periods and stuff like that, like seeing more movies like Turning Red, and like now this movie,
No,
like
totally.
seeing
Yeah,
more
yeah,
movies
exactly.
like explore a young
Mhm.
girl's like body, and not in a way that's like just cringy and gross and like, oh my
Yeah.
god, why would you do these? Are young girls and stuff like that. It was done in
Mhm.
such a way that I was like, I kind of grew up like this. Now I didn't cry
Yeah.
when I got my period. I was like way more advanced than that. I was just like, I called my mom into the bathroom like that girl did, but I was
Mhm.
like, am I on my period? My mom was like, yeah. I was
Yeah.
like,
Oh man.
I was like, I was like so annoyed. I was like,
Oh god.
Other than that, I didn't cry though, but I know some
Yeah.
girls that did. Like I know
Yeah,
some
yeah,
girls
yeah.
that like bawled their
That's
eyes
real.
out.
Like, yeah.
It's real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there were no beats in this film that I was like, this wasn't real. No
Right.
girl did this. No
Well, and,
girl
like
did
going
that.
back to like, yeah, and go back to like Rachel McAdams' performance.
Mhm.
That's what I was recognizing about her. Just felt natural. Like it didn't feel forced.
Mhm.
And it was
Mhm.
just like she is this mom,
Yep.
and like her past experiences is what informs her
Present
her role
ones.
as a mother, yeah, exactly, and how she's raising her daughter, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah. The fact that
yeah,
her
there's
parents rejected her is why she's a people pleaser. And I was like, that's some
right,
psychological stuff.
yeah,
Whew.
yeah.
That they
Well,
didn't
what's
like.
funny,
They just showed. They didn't tell you about it though. You know what I mean? They just showed
yeah,
it,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
love that they weren't
mhm,
like, well, you're like this because of your parents, and it's like we
exactly,
didn't need that. We
yeah,
didn't need
and that's what
that.
you're supposed to do, like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like people talk about, yeah, like I know there was a whole like people kind of got weird about Denis Villeneuve. Am I saying it right, Aina? Sorry. She lectured us last week about it. No, I'm just kidding. She did.
Just like get it together.
Yeah, or a couple weeks ago, yeah. But he had this whole thing about like he doesn't like dialogue, which I understand. You want to kind of like, I think he means like overusing
Unnecessary
dialogue, really.
dialogue.
Yeah. Where with exposition, and that's what you're talking about right there. It's like
Yeah.
they do it in such a way like, yeah, they show us these little
Right.
things here instead of telling us like,
Show
yeah,
don't tell.
we
I
didn't,
believe it.
yeah,
Show don't tell.
yeah, and
Yeah, this movie was great, man. Like I cried during this movie. Like
mhm.
this movie was like this movie. I was like, I kind of want to read the book now. Here go another one where I was like, I
Yeah,
kind of want to read the book.
yeah.
I kind of
It's
want to read the
really,
book. Jeez, Judy.
it's really, I mean, Judy Blume's so great. There's a documentary actually about Judy Blume on Amazon. Actually,
Really?
I'm pretty sure it's Amazon. Yeah. So it came out right around the same time as the movie did. So
Okay, I'm gonna check that
we gotta
out.
dig in. And like, I think it's funny that you mentioned the whole thing that Judy like rejected all the offers
Mhm.
to make this into a film. I wonder too if like it just felt like this was the right time for this movie to come
Yes,
out.
perfect time.
And like,
Perfect
I
time.
think that's
I
why
think that
she
was the
was
best
kind of
decision
weak.
of her career.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause just think about it though, like her book is super popular, still is super popular.
Oh my
Like I
God,
think
yeah.
I think schools still use it as like their book list thing, And I went to like an
Yeah.
inner city, like Detroit inner city school. Judy Blume was not on the list. Like she was not on the
Right.
list. Unless
Yeah.
she is now, but when I was growing up, she wasn't on the list.
Mhm.
So I had no idea like what this movie was, what this story was.
Right. That's
So kind of like
crazy.
just going into it kind of like extremely fresh
Mhm.
is so weird and amazing, and because I was able to like not have anything block my view of it.
Mhm.
And I don't know, man, this film gave me the same feeling as like what did we watch last week? I can't remember the name of it now. Little Women. Hey
Yeah.
Snitty, can you hear us? Okay, can you mute yourself? No?
Okay.
Okay, because it's just like I can hear myself. I can hear my echo, and I can hear
Yeah, we're
everything you're
hearing an
doing, like
echo.
all the moving.
Sorry.
I know why. Light bulb. He's like, I know why. Okay. But yeah, this film gave me the same feelings like Little Women. I was just like, oh man, these
Oh,
films are
yeah.
coming out at a time where
Yeah.
young girls need these films. Like,
Yeah.
you know, now I just want them to expand the diversity of these films, like, because I feel like
Right.
that makes a difference. Like culture makes a difference. And I feel like
Oh,
you could
yeah,
have made an Are
absolutely.
You There, God, you know, oh no, Michelle, you know, like it's me,
Right.
Michelle, like
Yeah.
or something like around that or something. But I don't know. I
Uh-huh.
find that like
Yeah.
really, really interesting. Like, yeah, I love
That's
this film.
funny.
This film was like super great.
Yeah.
And what's his
No,
name? Benny Safdie?
Benny Safdie, yeah.
Safdie? Yeah.
Yeah.
He wasn't in it like a whole heck of a lot,
Right.
but when he did show up, I thoroughly enjoyed him.
Yeah.
That
I
was
thought he
Benny
felt
Safdie,
well.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's just. How did I not notice that? That guy's got a range.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, no, he does. Yeah,
No, he
yeah.
does. I agree.
Because we've
Yeah,
seen
I
3
was-
movies with him now.
I was unsure about his
Mhm.
casting in this movie. I'm like, knowing what he's done before.
But he's so soft in this
so-
movie. He's a very light,
He is,
very.
yeah,
I loved
that's
the
the
like
thing, like-
chair scene where he's like, I'm
Yeah.
good.
He's like,
He
"I don't
got
know,
that this
yeah,
change was hard
That
for his
was
wife and that for even for his
Yeah.
daughter, and he just was like,
You know,
I'm good.
Mhm.
Yeah. I need to bring it
Although
It's the scene.
I think that God wanted, Margaret to be able to hang around Moose, so God hurt her dad, so that Moose could mow the lawn. That's what it felt like, because she kept asking, she kept praying and asking, and then all of a sudden, Dad's bleeding profusely, and
Yeah.
And that's
What's
because
kind
Dad
of-
lived in the city and he don't know how to mow no lawn, really.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So-
No,
but he was excited. I'm
He's
glad he
like,
was
it
excited.
says-
I thought that was kind of
Yeah,
cool.
he
He
Like,
said, it says here, you're supposed to cut that off before you put your hand in it. I was like,
Even
isn't that
Margaret
just
was
a
like,
wife?
you
We go
know.
to rules. We go to rules.
Yeah.
right.
We go to rules,
Well,
man.
like another. So something else that was interesting about this, watching it the second time around, because my girlfriend has children, and one of her kids is a 12-year-old girl, and so there was like elements, and I've like seen her interact with her friends and everything, and
Mhm.
it's like there was so many of that friend group that she has in this that reminded me. It's just like things. The more things change, the more they stay the same, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Where like they're all acted the same way. Like there's one like really precocious one that's like, you know,
Mhm.
and like she is kind of like Margaret in some ways. You know what I mean? Like this my girlfriend's daughter.
Kind of an
But
average
it's just
kid,
really,
basically.
yeah, it's just really interesting to see like those parallels of like real, just how spot on Judy Blume was.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Well,
Honestly, it kind of gives me like Sex in the City vibes. Not like that deep. Calm down, y'all. Let me get there. Let me cook. Let me
but like the
cook.
four girlfriends, right?
But yeah,
Right.
but like the four girlfriends and how they each have distinct personalities.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that,
You guys might have mentioned
one
these,
girl
but
can
like
be all of it, but you know.
Yeah.
Now and Then from the 90s made me, I thought of this.
Oh yeah.
I thought a
Yeah.
little bit of like My
Yeah.
Girl, not the same 4-girl dynamic, but the Annie Klumsky character kind of embodies the
Yeah.
Margaret character.
Yeah.
It just
I
reminded
love
me of a
Little
lot of
Women
those kind of
because
things.
it gave me the Little Women because that's what we watched like
No,
last
that makes sense.
week.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's giving me like little like women, and it's just like these 4 distinct characters, like
Mhm.
and like I don't know, it felt very real life to me. Like towards the end when Margaret goes to dance with Laura,
Mhm.
and then I can't remember the black girl's name. I can't remember her character's name. But she's kind of like bored with the other two, and then she looks over and sees Margaret, which you can tell that in the film they became like best friends because
Mhm.
like they had that moment in the store together when Margaret comes in for in school for her birthday. She's the only person to give her a birthday gift. Like they have
Yeah.
they built a nice little relationship, and it wasn't like so much that you were like, I didn't see anything. You saw little bits and moments it made sense why she ran over and was like, okay, Margaret dancing with her, I'm gonna go dance with her.
Janie Loomis.
Janie
Yeah.
Loomis, like her character was like a very subtle character. Like they used her whenever they needed to, just like the other girl with the glasses. Like they used these characters because obviously Margaret and Nancy were like the two that they like focused on.
Right.
But I'm assuming it's like that in the book a little bit more.
There had to
like,
be a
like
yang to Margaret's yin. Like there had to be.
Yes.
No, for sure. And it's one of those things where it's like when you're a young girl and you're growing up, like confidence is everything, right? And if somebody speaks to you with confidence, I feel like it's with young boys too, because young boys say stupid stuff to each other, but if somebody say it with confidence, you believe them. You believe everything they say. And it's the same thing that happens with like young girls. And like Margaret fell into that, like I'm new and this girl wants to be my friend. I'll just mimic her and do what they do. And girls do that until we figure out until our life and training, our parents, all that kind of stuff kind of comes in, and we're like, we shouldn't be doing this.
Adults
this.
still do it.
That realistic of that. Oh,
Yeah,
for sure. For sure.
It's a human trait, but for way more when you're a kid. Agreed. Like it's
no, for sure, way more.
You don't want to feel that awkward moment. Like you don't. That awkward feeling is something kids thrive to get, or like are trying to constantly avoid. Like any awkwardness, and that's why this movie, they don't realize how awkward they really are. I think it's a great spin on that, because I feel awkward watching them and they feel fine, which is weird.
I feel like this is a good like lesson for you, Snitty. You have two young girls.
No, I know, but I also grew up with sisters, so this is not new to me.
Oh yeah, you're set then.
Quite literally, I knew girls at this age, and then I was the boy that they didn't like because I was their brother, so I was tortured, incessantly tortured. And I was in the middle of all of them, so they ranged from younger than me to older than me.
Oh my god.
Yeah, my oldest sister's 5 years older, and then my youngest sister's 3 years younger. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't have a gaggle of girls like that around me, and I didn't grow up with like any sisters or anything like that. So I think one of my favorite things to do is watch films about like women, about sisters. Like that's why I'm obsessed with like Charmed and stuff like that when I was a kid. It wasn't like the magic was nice because I love sci-fi as a kid, but it was more so like sisters. They're sisters.
And there was a sisterliness to every episode, and like them being sisters.
Right. Yeah. And
see, that's why
like
I don't associate with brothers movies. Like the Four Brothers. I don't know. I don't know what that. The only brother I have was adopted when I was 17. So he and we're cool. We love each other, but we have the only thing in common we have is like movies and games, and that's about it.
Right. It's far removed than that. Yeah. Like no, and that's how I feel. Like I watch like I call them my sisters because like they're my cousins essentially. One ain't even my cousin, but I call her my cousin because I love her. Like she's like my little sister. Right. But like this is just what it is. But like I watch their dynamic, and I'm like that. Like it's exhausting watching it. Like it's exhausting watching them like they'll argue a little bit, and then they'll like dip off, and then they'll come back, and then it's like little arguments that's like to me are very unnecessary, but to them it's heavy and it matters. So like just being on the outside watching, I'm like, that's exhausting. And are you there, God? It's me, Lala. Thank you for not giving me like I'm just the youngest and I got 3 brothers. Like it's fine, but like watching those dynamics are just like very interesting. So it was kind of like watching that on screen. It was like very interesting watching those dynamics. And like I think that's why it's like watching movies where people go to the prom all the time because you didn't get to go to the prom, so you just like experience it. Like it's like one of those.
I went to 3 proms. I'm greedy, I guess.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Rub it in.
Jeez, man.
I know.
Terrible.
She's talking about like not going to prom, and you're like, I went to 3.
She's like, I'm out of here. Well, I'm saying is I went to prom for you. I was trying to help out. I was making up for people that couldn't never go.
I went to 1 prom. I went to like my senior prom, but like I didn't get to go to 2 more proms, man.
But I got invited by other people to their proms, so that's why I went to go to. Yeah. I went to my own senior prom.
Nobody liked me enough to invite me to their prom.
But I also went to a school that did junior proms. Did you guys do junior proms at all?
No.
Yeah, we had junior proms, and they shouldn't count.
Inner city schools, we had no money for no junior proms.
I know.
I was in the suburbs, and they were like, "Hey, it's a day. Have a dance." Like it was just
have a day. That was because the teachers wanted a day. They were like, let's give them a little junior prom.
Excuse us, I was not popular. Just because I went to 3 doesn't mean I was popular. I was never a popular kid.
We didn't get your. Oh, that's because Keys was like, "Oh, excuse us, Mr.
right.
Snitty, we didn't get your initial take though.
I give you my kind of basic take, but this is the kind of movie where if you were to replace a lot of those kind of idiosyncrasies about being a boy into the moments of being a girl, you could interchange this story with boys and girls very easily. And I like that, which makes it kind of almost universal because boys know that they were going through similar awkward things at the time and can easily in their head go, you know, wow, I've never seen boobs before or whatever. And so they go through the same process. It's the same thing for both, you know, for those two genders. What's interesting is these movies in a modern world, we don't talk about the other genders and what it's like to grow up like that. And I'm sure we're going to get a lot of movies in the next 20 years about that. And so I'm kind of anxious to see if it's, and I assume it's going to be the same. You could probably put a trans kid in where Margaret is and find that the story is still just very human and it's still the same story, right? Yeah. So I think it's a universal story is what I'm saying. And I like that about it, where you don't have to be a 12-year-old girl to understand what it's like to grow up as a kid. I did mention McAdams. I thought that her arc is it's subtle. It's like really subtle because she goes from the way she's talking to her daughter in the beginning about she like jokes with her or laughs at her instead of immediately like she did with the pads at the end where she's like, I got them for you and I thought ahead. And there was just this subtle switch, and that's all it takes. And people don't realize this. If you just the way you talk to your kid can have a huge impact on what their interaction with you. And I liked that. Not knowing as Benny Safdie blew my mind. That's great. Love it. That guy, he's going to go further than I thought that he would, based upon just Uncut Gems, which is what I know him from first. And then, what was it? The other Robert Pattinson movie.
One with,
Good Time.
Good Time. That's right. That's
Good Time. Yeah. Good time. Look
that,
at you.
And then, of course, Oppenheimer. You've got 4 very different roles.
And
in Oppenheimer, even though he's a small role, he's a crucial role. Like he really brings something.
He's also in The Curse, that TV series, that series on HBO.
I didn't know that.
That's right. With Emma Stone.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, so he's really dabbled with the breaks already.
Directing. That's why they took a break, the brothers, because he was like, I got some stuff to do. Like, I got some lines to learn. I'm kind of tired.
Does that mean that his brother though would have been the kind of maybe deeper director, or is Benny as much a director? Because, you know, they say, like, we talk about the Coen brothers is a great example of brothers who equally get a time to take the lead, right? When they, because one will step back while the other steps forward. And it makes me wonder about that in these dynamics of these brothers and sisters that are filming together, or just even married couples, which I don't think you like ever see anymore. Overall,
they always get divorced and they still got to be in business with each other. So they just kind of
it's a lot harder than with a sibling.
Stop announcing that they were like, we're married and we do things together, because it always ends with somebody getting divorced or something like that. So,
but then you get like Chris Nolan and his wife. They've been together since before he was even remotely famous, and they're still doing stuff together. And she's produced almost all of his films. Like she's been a producer on almost all of his films.
When you have been with somebody before you get famous, you kind of and y'all have been in business together, and it's been like a good relationship, because it's sometimes where like you'll have somebody before you get married, then you get really famous, and then like all of a sudden you ain't married no more. Oopsie daisies, we're divorced all of a sudden, but we loved each other up until this point. But you have some that make that work, and I like love that. Like I love when they like, it's us, man. We doing this together. This is our joint thing. It's not just, yes, your name is the name that gets like plastered, but you also know that I'm an integral part of this, and I think those are the ones that work the best.
I don't think his movies, Nolan specifically, his movies would be what they are without his wife, because she's influenced his life. So did you guys see the interview with, this is totally an aside, we keep doing this tonight, I'm sorry, the interview with Nolan and Colbert, although Colbert's in hot water, but whatever, where he's talking about the Fast and Furious franchise. And that's what got me making my wife. I'm like, if Nolan likes these, there's a reason, and it's because he understands that they know they're doing what they're doing, and they're flipping everything on its head.
But that's why I love those films, because I feel the same way. I don't think that they were like, I don't think that they're like, we're about to make cinematic genius. Like I don't think anybody in that room
what Nolan says.
Is saying that
he enjoys them. Like
I just think they were like, this is like a fun, like, let's do some weird, like, sci-fi, but it's real world. Because if you think about a lot of things they do is very supernatural. It's just based in, like, real worldness. And, like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it always cracks me up when people are like, these movies, they used to be so grounded.
I'm going to finish them on this viewing because she stopped at 6, but I'm going to finish them because there's something, if you look, it's almost planned. I've watched all but
Yeah.
10, so like I'm already on board. But if you watch the Fast and Furious films, every movie they just go a little further, not a lot further, because in the first movie it's just stealing DVDs,
Yeah.
jumping on a
It's
truck.
straight up street
But in the
racing.
second movie, they jump car onto a boat. I'm like, okay, that's bigger. That's much bigger.
Yeah.
Third movie is an aside, but we already know because it's just like one-off weird thing.
Right.
And in 4, you're gonna get the tumbling fireball, and then it just goes from there. Like, but it's never like too big of a jump, right? It's
There's always there's a
right
formula.
amount.
There's a formula to these films. Like it's a formula. They literally have like their blueprint.
They
and
went to
just go by
General
it,
Hospital and took the first 5 seasons and are like, we're going to apply that to car racing. Here's something funny.
Yeah.
So if you think about Fast and the Furious, can you think of another movie that is exactly Fast and the Furious with a different name?
Damn. Wow. As a car drives by, that sounds
right. That was weird.
Yeah.
Sorry, I live by a highway, and they do that.
That's hilarious. Actually, that was just.
So there's another movie in the 90s.
I thought you hit a button.
Right? No, that was just life. Life did that.
I was like, cool.
So another movie like the Fast and Furious in the 90s with the almost exact beat for beat plot.
Key said, "Go on in 60 seconds."
No, that one actually has a quite different plot actually than. That's a brothers movie. There's like elements
Dukes
of
Hazzard.
that. Dukes.
I don't know. I'm just playing. I don't know.
Point Break is quite literally the Fast and the Furious.
Never
I was
seen
gonna
it.
say Point Break. Yeah.
It is like if you put those movies next to each other,
it feels.
cop
Is that Keanu
turning.
Reeves?
Yep, cop starting to flirt with the edge of crime. Not sure,
gotta,
gets pulled in by a charismatic guy.
Get into this
Has to start doing what he does in his world. Once he starts doing what he does in his world, he starts to realize he's good at it, and it elevates into can he cross the line? You know, it's quite literally. I just described both films. So yeah,
both
it's
have like
it's fun.
adrenaline things involved.
Can I say,
too, and, like,
to go back to Are You There, guys?
Yes, please. That was very.
I love a good segue though. No, I love a good segue. It adds flavor to the show. Like it really does. It keeps it, kind of levels. But can I say, the scene, when what's his name? Is it Ben Safdie? Benny Safdie?
Yeah.
Am I right? Okay, yeah. When him and Rachel McAdams are talking about her parents, I was heavily annoyed with him for like a good 8 to 10 seconds, and then when she was just like, because the writing is so good in this, like the writing is so like natural and real, like that is so good that like I was so annoyed with him because he's like, what happened last time? Like he was kind of talking to her like a child, and she's already like in this like childlike state anyway, like of this people pleasing type of like state. And he's like, what happened last time? What do you think this time is going to be different? Like, why would you do this? Like type of thing. And I was like so annoyed with him. And then when she was like, they're my parents, and he was like, they're your parents. Like it dawned on him like
I think that
it's her parents. And I was like, thank you so much, because you don't see this scene in like movies a lot with like a husband and a wife. They would immediately started arguing. She would have slammed the door and it would have been a whole thing. But it was like he came to the realization that like, no, you're right. Like these are your parents. Like nobody can get over like not seeing their parents, like not in some form.
I think his question, Law, was really more of it was a selfish question, because I think that it was more than just religion. I think that being that he was a Jewish man was part of it too, and I think that he felt a lot of racism from her family.
I agree.
And so for him, he was immediately like triggered at just even knowing that they might be involved. So I get it. I don't think it excuses what he did.
No, but I think like I get both sides. Like no, I get both sides. Like I understood why. Like I wasn't like confused on the why. Like I understood like both sides.
But I get it. You're still just like, dude.
But I'm just like, dude. Like she like look at the pain. Like this is your wife. You know when she's in. You guys have been together since like however long. Right. Like she's in pain. But also it's like it stings too, because it's like you don't like me because of like my like my faith. Like that's essentially saying you just don't like me. Like why does my faith have anything? You don't even know me as a person. Like so I understood him like wholeheartedly, but like just the pain in Rachel McAdams' face. I'm gonna always side with Rachel McAdams. Always. She's always
right. That's
I'm
fair.
always siding with her. But fair. It was just like the pain in her, but just to see them both kind of like understand each other. You don't see that a lot. Like, like he understood her, but I think she always understood him, but it's just one of those things where it's like, it's my parents, man. Like, it's, you know, like, I'm pretty sure it hurts her sometimes to like just see herself and him with Margaret, and to know that she hasn't had that in quite a long time.
Right.
Like,
but he does also have the
subtle.
benefit of the fact that his mom's been around, and he gets
His
to
mom's
see
been
her
around,
whenever
right?
he wants.
So like,
to see
he
her.
doesn't quite understand that dynamic,
right?
Like, type of thing.
Well, and you do get to see the connection between the two of them later on when the whole religion thing comes up, and they immediately are together on it. They're like, no, we know that we did Margaret a favor, and we were trying to keep her out of this, because it's not that either family has a religion or even wants to talk about it. It's the toxicity of both, because even Sylvia showed that she was no, she's already Jewish. And I was like, why? Because she showed up at temple with you one time. She's automatically Jewish.
Like, come on,
that's not, you're pushing. And so I can see how their relationship was strong throughout. So him turning to her feels right with everything else that they did with those characters.
Also, shout out to Kathy Bates. I loved her in this role. I loved her.
Brilliant.
I loved her in this role. She had a freedom to her acting that like she's had before, but this one it was just in a grounded, like she fit in this world, even though she didn't fit in that world. You know, like,
well, she's already had this like maternal thing since the beginning, like since her career started to pick up. Even in Misery, she's a mom, but it's a twist, right? She's a very motherly figure, but there's a big twist on it. There was another movie I thought of when I was watching this, and it's weird because it's an animated movie, but I immediately thought Inside Out, because this is literally Riley's life if we were on the outside and seeing what she was going through. So in a lot of ways. Yeah.
I do like the intercuts to her being like, are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. So I just as a person that like I talk to God on a daily, I liked seeing that in film. I like seeing that wasn't something that got like stripped away or removed away, because I really do feel like people build their relationship with God however they want to build their relationship with God. Like, I don't feel like you always have to be in a building and give money to people, unless that's what you want to do. Like, I've done it. I still do it from time to time. I don't do it all the time, but I do it from time to time. Whatever floats your boat, you know what I mean? Noah, that was a Noah joke. But anyway, but
wait, wasn't the floating of that boat the wrath of God?
No, it was the reason why they had to float was because of the wrath of God.
Right. That's what
But whatever floats your boat though. But I like the fact that like she had the space to like experience and learn things for herself, and I don't think a lot of parents give their kids that space.
But were they giving her too much space?
Great. No, I really don't feel like they were. I felt like it was a nice amount of space.
But the reason I asked is the way her mom.
Is that a perspective of generation though? Because like this is set in a very different time.
Yeah, this is a different technically it's a different generation.
So
honestly,
this comes from her mom's question about whether she should go to church at 12, and I'm like, if she's showing interest, that's when you should start letting her pay attention. That to me is the right time. And I felt like saying you have to wait till you're 18 is just as dangerous as trying to push it on her. But her mom is like
talking from her own trauma. Like her mom is talking from her own trauma.
And I get that. She totally was.
Because you can't sit here and tell me like you can go when you're older and I can physically talk to you and walk to school and go to places.
Right. You let me go out with a strange girl earlier, but you won't talk to me about what's in this book over here. You won't talk to me.
And you know, so like I love that like she was still a person. She was very like,
she was grounded.
Her mother's child, her father's child. And she was very much like, I'm about to go experience these things. And I love that they like just showed her going to different churches and like how they're different. Because that black church, I was like,
okay. So this is something I've said. I was taken to church young. That's kind of in the 80s, 70s and 80s in this country. It's pretty much just the way it was. And we didn't stay. My family stopped once we moved to California, whether that's heathenistic or whatever, I don't know. But once we stopped, it was up to me to kind of come back. And I'm telling you right now, I think I would be full-blown Christian had it been a black church that I had gone to, because the uplifting nature, the music, the even if you don't think it's the Spirit of God, the spirit of the people alone would draw me in. But that's, that's not the kind of churches that I was exposed to. I was exposed to, down, depressing, put your hand up and pray to God type stuff. And it was just or you're a sinner. Like that was the other one. Right.
Yeah, it's time to go. Yeah.
Which is nothing wrong with talking about those things, but like, can you package it in a way that makes it so that it's palatable for me? But that's
for sure.
No, I had to just
not get that.
So that's part of what I think drove a lot of people in my generation away. It was just you're wrong and it's depressing too. So,
Yeah.
but I still think people
I
need
don't
to
know, I
have
just love
something,
her
right?
stance.
That they.
I mean, I feel like you should. I don't feel like you should force religion on anybody.
Right.
And this is coming from a person who has a very devout mother that's a Christian. Mind you, she ain't as devout as the parents was. Okay, I'm just to throw that out there. I will say this though, she used to be, but I kind of cleaned that up because I was like, "Ma'am, we can't do that here. No, we can't do that, ma'am." But have a very devout mother. Had a very devout grandmother. Like I grew up in church like my entire life. I don't think there's a memory that I can think of that I wasn't in some type of church doing something with a Bible, however it is, and choir and all that kind of stuff. And then it got to a point where my mom was like, you can go to church when you feel like it. She was like, you can take your religion into your own hands. And I think for my grandmother, that was unheard of.
Right.
If I go to church, you go to church. Right. That was my grandmother's thing. And my mom was like that for a while, but I don't know what clicked. Are you there, God? It's me, Lala. Thank you for putting that in her brain. I'm pretty sure that was you.
That's great.
And I think like he was just like, you need to let them figure that out themselves. And then it came to a point where like I was like free Sundays. And then it came to a point where I was like, I kind of miss it. And now to this day, I don't really go to church as much as but every blue moon, I'll be like, okay, I'll go to church, or I'll just tithe because like it's on my heart to do so. Not that I feel obligated, not that somebody's like pressuring me to do it. It's just on my heart. So I'll just tithing, like give money and like things like that. I pray all the time. Like I have my own relationship. And I think that's what I appreciated about this film was that Margaret was looking, right? And then she said something so profound to me. She was just like, why can't I only feel you when I'm alone? And to me, that's a real thing because when you're around people or noise, a lot of things you can't feel a lot of things, you can't see a lot of things. All you can see is what that noise is, but when you are alone, there's like a solace and a moment where you're like, and you can have these moments and you can talk to God and you can feel like you're being heard. And like this film just hit me in a way. I was just like to see a young girl like explore religion like that. Like you don't see things like that. And like I've seen the pressure. Like I've seen people be like her grandparents. I've seen people be like that. And I don't like that. Like that's a big turn off for me. So to see her tell everybody to shut up in that scene, I was like, vindication. I was like, oh.
It's a weirdly empowering film for the era too, because there are a lot of people that are just like, you have to believe what we believe. In fact, we're going to make it law. And I'm like, whoa. No, the law should be that we should all be able to agree that we don't agree. That's the law. Like that's
no, for sure.
Because even two religious people
standing
aren't
up for
agree.
herself,
right?
Just her being a young girl, and you look at it, she didn't stand up for herself, just like her mother didn't stand up for herself.
Right.
So to have these two women of different generational gaps, of different ways of thinking and being, in a sense, figure out the same thing at different points of their life. Like, and that's what you want, right? As a mother, you want your daughter to figure it out just a little, like before you did. It sucks that it took her mom this long, but that's just life. You gotta. Sometimes that's why kids are like the greatest things, because they help clear up some stuff in your past that you didn't even know was a problem or that you just shoved down enough. But to see, you want your kid to figure it out before you did. You want your kid to have what you did.
Well, a good example of that would be the blisters. And they kind of allude to that in the beginning, that she's not listening to her mother. She literally is avoiding what her mother is saying. And that's a mom wanting her to learn those lessons ahead of time. And that's what we all wish for really everybody. But unfortunately, most times, I think 90% or more, we have to make those errors on our own and go through it.
And I think that's scary for parents, because like as a parent, as a good parent, I'll take that back. As a good parent, you want to shield your child from like everything. And it's like, it's when you come to the realization that you can't, and they're going to have some boo-boos and make some mistakes, and you just going to have to let them do that, because how else will they learn?
Right.
Like they won't learn any other way.
Well, we're not built in such a way that you can be told and automatically learn. We hope that's true. But a kid will learn faster not to touch a hot stove the moment they touch a hot stove. That's over. They won't do it again.
For sure.
Well, I guess some kids do, but you know what I mean. The majority of people don't. But yeah, that's just, and that's part, I think that's built into the coming of age tale. That's one of those things that has to be built in for it to work. But no. Anything else you guys want to say about Are You There, God? It's me,
It's
the real study.
Margaret. Ha, yes. Honestly, that should be the title of this.
It's me, the real study. Oh, are you okay?
No,
Yeah,
are you there, guys?
I think they, unless we parody the book, I think we might get in a little trouble for that one. Maybe we'd have to see.
I don't think so.
Well, especially if we do it in the what is that, like cream and kind of.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine. We're
Same
not
font.
we're not parodying anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Overall, I think everybody should see this film. I just think it's a very take away the aspects of like me being a girl and loving to see the movie about a girl. I just think it's a phenomenal film just in itself.
Yeah.
I just think it's a phenomenal film. It's shot well. I told my mom it was a film that like it was easy to watch it, right? And I know for some people that might seem like, oh, it was simple. It was just like no. It was just an easy film to watch. Like I wanted to see what happened next. I wanted to see where these characters went. Everything about it was just like, okay, what's next? Okay, whoa, that's nuts. Look at them. Like it was just easy to digest. It was easy to watch. It was just easy to kind of get through. So yeah, go see it. It's amazing.
What throw a number on the end of that? What's your rating?
My rating for Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret is a 10. I gave it a 10. I cried at this film. I cried hard.
Man.
I know. Snitty's like, what?
2 10s in one night. She will not rate another 10 for the rest of this year. I'm telling you, it's just not going to happen.
No other film gets it.
All right. That's all right. Now I get it. Now I get how passionate you are about it. How about you, Brian?
Yeah, I have to say it's a 10 also. I mean, I absolutely fell in love with this movie the first time I saw it in theaters. And I was like really, like I told Law, I was like really pushing people to go see this movie, and it felt like a lot of people didn't see it when it first came out, and like I feel like
those TikToks. yeah,
and like I feel like the early release of it in the year was kind of like us, like why we didn't really hear much about it come award time. It did win quite a few awards, just not a lot of the major ones. And Rachel McAdams got some of her recognition. I thought she was phenomenal in it. I absolutely love this movie, and it's great.
So as you mentioned, Edge of 17 is of course the same director. Looking back, she also did a movie called Post Grad, and it sounds like she's now kind of written movies
hilarious.
about like 12 again, then 17, and then again after college. And it's almost she didn't get to direct it. I wish that they'd go back and let her direct a version of that so that she could show kind of this almost like her trilogy, if you will, because it feels like there's a trilogy there based upon just what she's done. So because Edge of 17 feels it has these same real moments, these same but it's like Law said, it's easy to watch. Like it's a movie that's just well directed, easy to take in. Knowing Edge of 17, knowing where this director's headed, knowing that this is quintessential girls coming of age tale, 10. Definitely a solid film. Everybody should watch this movie. Even if you're a guy. Even if you're a guy. All right.
Especially if you're a guy. And I think that's more men need to be watching more film and stories about women in general. She really did. 2 10s. Everybody's shocked. So next week, we will be watching 2 completely different films that have literally nothing to do with each other. And I'm still hoping that we'll find some connection somehow, because all these movies we watch, somehow they feel connected in one way or another. So next week we'll be watching Clueless, with of course Alicia Silverstone and Paul Rudd, who looks very little different at this point, and then also The Hurt Locker.
Not at all.
Unless you saw him at the Chiefs game, he was like gray beard in it and looking like an older guy. Two very, very different films. But I've always wanted to actually do a full review on Clueless, because it's one of those films that still resonates. It's relevant in a lot of ways. So I think it'll be interesting to really analyze it and see what we think. Other than that, Law usually tells us about social media at this point, I think.
Yeah. So, all my people that's watching, all my people that's listening, don't forget to follow The Real Study, REEL, The Real Study, on all social media platforms. We are across the board, as well as podcast platforms. We are streaming everywhere. We ask that you do follow, you do sub, you do like, you do share. It does help us a lot. And if you can donate some of your hard-earned funds into The Real Study so we can put it back into the podcast, that's amazing. But if all you can do is like and sub and share our stuff and come show up and comment, that helps as well. It's a free way to help. And if you want us to review anything that you like, that you think that we might like, come join the Discord, become a real student here at the university. And we can veto some things. We probably won't because we rarely do it, but we have that power. But come and talk and play some games in the Discord and chit chat and have a good time.
Love it. So now you're making me feel, because we're always in the Real Study just chatting films. This is just our study where we talk about films. Do we have a real classroom that we could ever utilize? And
actually, I feel like the host chat is the real classroom because that's where we kind of talk.
But we never
time.
we never show the university, the class. We're going to get off the rails here. Anyway, this has been episode 18 of season 3 of The Real Study.
Yeah.
We appreciate you guys being here, and join us next week for more movie talk.
Women's Month. Get at it.
Right?